Bruchko by Bruce Olson. Chapter 2. Who is my God? Who is my God? I asked. I was 14 years old. Who was he? There was no answer. Across the high school yard, I could hear the thuds and whistles from a football practice. For the thousandth time, I wished I was good enough at sports to be asked to play. But there's something besides sports on my mind, something that had been bothering me for days. Who is my God? I asked myself again. There's the Lutheran God, whom we talk about in church. There's the God of all Christian churches, whom we study about in school. There's the God I've been reading about in my Bible, but which of them is my God? No answers came out of the frozen Minnesota sky. I began to walk home. It didn't seem that anybody knew the answer. The Sunday before, I'd gotten enough courage to ask my Sunday school teacher. He'd smiled a big toothy smile. Didn't you take your confirmation vows? I knew all about confirmation. While studying for it, I had learned theology, but I wanted to know God. My dad would rather I didn't think about it. I hadn't asked him, but I knew he would say. He looked down at me with his crystal blue eyes and told me that I was wasting both his time and mine. Maybe I was. It didn't seem at all likely that there was any God other than the fierce Lutheran one. It just frightened me to think of him. This icy wind cutting my face is his wind, I thought. I kicked at the brown dead grass along the sidewalk. This morning it had been laced with snow. A few icy patches were left in the shadows of the gutters. Why was I born? I'm too spindly, too nearsighted, too awkward. I can't even play football. When they throw a pass at me, it hits me and they make fun of me. I could see Kent Lange's freckled face ringed with dark curly hair, his mouth stretched into a big laugh. He was my best friend. My stomach got a cold heaviness, like when I ate ice cream too fast. Why did I take it all so seriously? It was only a game. When I get home, I thought I'll take out my books. Then all these problems will be forgotten. I love to line up my books on my bed, to have them scattered around me in their different languages. For the last 2 nights, I've been practicing my Greek by reading my Bible. I had a big leather Bible that was beautifully printed and bound, and I loved to leaf through the pages. For years now, I've been reading the Bible, mostly the Old Testament. Now that I was learning Greek, it was interesting to dip into the New Testament. But for the time being, the Old Testament was still my favorite. I was enchanted by the histories, intrigued by the battles. Sometimes on Sunday afternoons, I would read through many chapters at a time. The prophets were different. They often frightened me so much that I would slam the Bible shut until I could convince myself that this was a dream book, not actual prophecy. God's judgment was all too easy to imagine. The earth opening and people being carried down into the pit of eternal fire, and Jesus coming with his armies of bright, fierce angels with swords to destroy all creation for its sinfulness. It frightened me to think of God. Sometimes when I lost my temper, I would realize what I was doing and cringe inside, my stomach muscles tightening. Yet I couldn't stop. I would go ahead and fight, feeling terrible the whole time. Later I would think, oh God, I'm going to be judged. I would be sorry, but would know inside that I would do the same thing again. The New Testament seemed different. For 2 nights I had been reading the book of John. I was confused by it. Jesus didn't seem at all as he had been described to me, or had I confused Jesus with the God I feared? Everywhere Jesus went, people were changed by him, and always for the better. I thought of my Sunday school class. I knew every kid in it. I've gone to church with them all my life. They'd never changed. None of us had ever changed. Oh, there was a lot of talk about change, all right. The minister told us you've got to change because God is going to damn the earth and its sinners. You must be holy, just as God is holy. That is what he demands of you. Short of his perfection is short of his eternity. And that damnation frightened me. Sometimes Kent came to my house on Saturdays, and we'd talk about horror stories and movies we'd seen. We tried to scare each other, and we'd giggle and stick our heads under the cushions. We enjoyed being scared. But sooner or later we would talk about God's judgment, about the burning pitch and the sky being rolled up like a scroll. Then we'd get very quiet. We knew that was no invention of a movie director or a story writer. It was real. It was going to come. Suddenly, I felt bone tired. Someone was always fighting in our house. Things seemed to go best when we didn't talk to each other. I climbed the stairs to my room, noticing how low each one was to polished to a dark red, like a ripe cherry. I liked that. Everything should be in order. Everything should be neat and clean. Why couldn't our family be like that? To look at us, you would think things were fine. My mother was a beautiful Swedish woman, perfect like a statue. None of my friends had a mother who looked like that. My father was handsome, with a strong jaw and deep brown hair that was never out of place, but we seldom got along. I went to my room and put my school books away. Then I got out my other books and put them on my bed. I had an English Bible, a Greek New Testament, and some books to help me understand the Greek. I stretched my lanky body on the bed. My feet stuck over the edge. My books made a little circle around me. This was the closest thing to a home that I had. I felt comfortable here. I read into the evening. My mother called me to dinner, and I went down to the silent rig of my family, still thinking about what I had been reading. My father noticed that I wasn't saying anything. "Why don't you contribute something to the rest of the family?" he asked. He spoke with great precision. "I was just thinking about something else, sir," I said. "And what was that?" I looked helplessly at my mother. I didn't want to have to talk. "Bruce," my father said, "don't look at your mother. I'm the one speaking to you." So I was forced to try to explain. I told him that I'd been reading the New Testament and I didn't understand it very well. "Of course you don't," he said. "It was written 2,000 years ago. It's not expected to make sense today." A mouthful of food got stuck in my throat. I was tired of hearing my father dismiss things with a sentence. Wait, what did he know about it? I looked down at my plate. It was easier if we didn't talk at all. As soon as I could be dismissed, I went back to my room. Everything was wrong. I picked up my Bible, but the words swam around the page. My face felt hot. I took off my glasses and lay down on the bed. "Stupid things," I said, looking at the thick lenses I had worn as long as I can remember. I hated them. Those glasses had gotten in my way in sports and had gotten me called four eyes and bug eyes for as long as I had them. I put my head down. What was the point of getting mad at the glasses? Surely somewhere there was someone who could help me. The Apostle John had met Jesus and since then had never been the same. All the Gospels told about people being changed by Jesus. I longed for a change too. But my God didn't care enough about me to do anything, I thought. But who is my God anyway? Where is he? I said to myself. Maybe if I keep reading, I'll find the answer, I thought. But I didn't really expect to find something helpful. After all, the Bible was written before there were Lutherans. Then I came across a verse that shocked me and set electricity jingling through my body. I sat up and read it again. "For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost." I knew God's justice, that he would judge me on the basis of my impurities. But here was a verse saying that Jesus had come to save the lost. I knew instantly whom he was talking about. Me. But how was Jesus going to save me? And from what? Was he going to do some miracle? A verse I had read in Romans began to make sense. "If thou shalt believe in thine heart that God has raised him, Christ, from the dead, thou shalt be saved." And saved was the opposite from lost. That's all, I thought. Just believe? Shouldn't I have to do some great thing? Shouldn't I have to live a perfect life? That was the idea I had gotten from my church. I thought of all the things about myself I didn't like. My temper, the bad things that sometimes filled my mind. Could Jesus change these things? Maybe he had been able to change water into wine 2,000 years ago. What did that prove about Bruce Olson? I thought about all those people in the Gospels who were changed by Jesus. But what did they have to do with me? Hours passed. There didn't seem to be a solution to my questions. I was tired. The clock on my dresser said it was 2 o'clock in the morning. Then I felt, very suddenly and very strongly, that those questions weren't for me to answer. I felt drawn to speak to Christ. Of course, I had prayed before, only formally, in church, reading from the hymnal. This was different. I lay on my bed, face down, and spoke to Jesus. It was a simple talk, but it was the first I had ever really had with him. "Oh, Jesus," I said, "I've read about how everyone around you was changed. Now I want to be changed." I want peace and fulfillment like Paul and John and James and the other disciples. I want to be delivered from all my fears, and at that moment I felt a presence in the room, like a stillness. It was at the same time small and quiet, huge and rearing, covering everything. Lord, I'm frightened by you, I continued. You know I don't even like myself. Everything is messed up around me, and it's messed up in me too. But please, God, I want to change. I can't do it myself, and I don't understand how you can do anything within me. But Jesus, if you could change all those people in the Bible, I guess you can change me. Please, Jesus, let me know you. Make me new. And then I knew that I was being saved. I felt miserable and broken and sick of myself, but I also realized a peace coming into me. It wasn't something dead and passive, that peace. It wasn't just a silence ending the war inside me. It was alive, and it was making me alive. I could feel that I was going to be able to like myself, and I knew that I didn't ever want that peace, that stillness to go away. I lay on my bed, feeling amazed, too astounded to move or even to think. I kept speaking to Jesus, knowing that he was there. Jesus was there. I didn't have to worry about the Lutheran God or the Christian God or anyone else's God. They weren't my problem. Jesus was my God, my personal God, and I had just talked with him.